What's up, everyone? You know who I am. My name, my claim to fame. I'm the one, the only Jack Slater, aka the Comic Outlaw. And we're doing the final part, yes, of the comedian, part 6 of 6. And you better grip on, y'all, because it's gonna be a wild, wild ride. And you know the comedian's sense of humor if you've been sticking with this show so far. So we're gonna rock and roll with a wanderer. Yeah. A sound, two pops, pop, pop. And then Kennedy is dead. Robert Kennedy. But yet someone with a smile on his face tucks a gun back in to his person, the comedian. How did this happen? Him and the Kennedys were close at one time. Well, I'm going to tell you. The comedian who went overseas and committed some horrific crimes on acid. Destroying a village, slaughtering them, men, women, children. Doing diabolical things of the devil would even appreciate. And hell have no fury like a government scorn trying to cover things up. But anyways, the comedian goes back to what he does, crime fighting, stabbing and killing, the Rat Pack gang, making them beg for mercy as a knife is in the leader's hand, telling them to fight back, to reach for the knife, to do something to make him laugh. All the comedian wants to do is laugh. And then all of a sudden the glass breaks through, and his night owl and his buddy Rorschach. And they've been hunting down these guys for a good while now. But surprise, the comedian's there. And Rorschach stares with an odd kind of hero worship. A sociopath can recognize another sociopath. For darkness, recognize darkness, just like the light recognizes the light. And I love how the comedian just takes advantage here. And just tells them what's what and when's when. He says that Rorschach is the future, and he didn't mean that as a compliment. Just like the comedian is where he is now. But he receives a letter, a note, kind of verifying what's going on, his place in government, his fall from grace. It may be a meeting, an opportunity, something to get Edward Blake out of the hole that he's in. And he meets up with one of his contacts, one of the former heads of the FBI. And he claims that the FBI Hoover was behind the Kennedy assassination. But this is in this reality, so it's neither here or there. But he passes a file to him saying that Robert's next. And he's not to be trusted. Blake has issues with him, considering that he left him off in Vietnam. And Blake feels that he's kind of responsible for that. But he's willing to stop this, to give him a chance. And it's interesting because this is the FBI working against the CIA. Because he's former FBI. This is a CIA brainwashed guy. So it's the way the government works in this reality. And maybe in the other one. Who knows? But Nixon. He talks about Nixon. Nixon's ready to bring in the big guns. Nixon's ready to bring in whatever it takes, to do whatever it takes to stop the communists, bombing them, blowing them up, and exactly what Blake wants, because he wants to end the war. He's seen on the front lines his men die, the slaughter, the bloodshed, the chaos, and that's why he decided to do what he did, in order to jolt this country into a big war. And now here stands the plan to proceed, to win where he had failed. But that night, as he sleeps in a hotel room, Robert Kennedy wakes him up, sitting in his bed. These men were close like brothers. But Kennedy cannot forgive what Blake did, the slaughter, the bloodshed. And he hands him a drink. And it's funny at this point, because Kennedy's talking about changing things, about ending the war, ending it peacefully. After all the blood, after all the faces died in the mud, he just wants to back out and put Blake in the spotlight to end this tragedy and the bloodshed. But the comedian smiles and says, "Let me confess. Why should you take the fall for this? Why should you be a rat when I could just confess to this and you're bringing me to justice? Does it look good on your campaign for president against Nixon? And Robert considers, as Blake sits beside him. And at this point, Robert is done with him. There's nothing he's going to do for the comedian. He's going to hang him out to dry for his political career. And the comedian is telling him he's going to roll with it. But during that campaign, that night, that famous night, right before the primaries, right as he's giving his speech, right as he's about to be accepted to run, to go against Nixon as president, to change the world, as he walks back with Blake, because Blake is supposed to confess after the results are in, win or lose. He follows him back, ready and willing. The comedian is going to accept whatever fate he has to, not only for himself but for the government, to end this war. And the assassin, the brainwashed CIA agent, comes out of nowhere, pulling a gun, a pitiful .22 revolver, and pop, pop. That's the only sound these politicians and news people heard, as they're scrambling, while Blake walks out the back, casually throws the revolver in the dumpster, and gets into his car, turns the engine on. And, of course, his favorite song comes on as he thinks back, for he's the one that put 2 in Robert Kennedy's head. And the song The Wanderer comes on as he beats himself up, bangs his head against the steering wheel, but he knows that it was necessary. It was necessary for this country to move forward. And his blood drips on his smiley face. It won't be the last time that blood remains there. You know, because he's the wanderer. And when you're as happy as a clown, and you roam from town to town with your 2 fists of iron, well, I'll catch you on the flip side. I hope you had a good laugh with the comedian.